What if I told you Tony Stark might never have been Iron Man at all? What if he was Doctor Doom from the very beginning? In this video, we're gonna break down how inside the MCU Doom could have turned into the multiversal threat and why he waited so long to finally make his move. Hey everyone, welcome to Sam Theory. My name is Sam and I'm here with another crazy breakdown theory for Avengers Doomsday. And this time, we're asking a question that's super simple, but the answer is more confusing than the entire Secret Timeline's branching rules. Who is Doom? So my theory, which is kinda insane, actually starts with the casting of Dr. Doom, Robert Downey Jr. himself. When the Russo brothers came out of Comic-Con and said RDJ is playing Dr. Doom, but he's not a variant of Tony Stark, we all just went, oh please, you're obviously lying. Why else would you drag RDJ back just to insist he's not a variant? The theory I had previously thought was that maybe Doom originally doesn't look like Tony. Maybe at some point he gets access to Tony's grave, pulls his corpse out, and uses Stark's DNA to build himself a hyper-realistic face mask. Something like those masks from Winter Soldier. So he can literally become Tony Stark and use that identity to push his own agenda. But now, I've got a theory that's way crazier. What if Tony Stark never actually existed as Tony Stark? What if it was always Victor Von Doom? You might say, hold on, that makes no sense. We've never had Doom in the MCU. But what if we actually did? What if he was Ben in every Avengers movie, just never under the same Doctor Doom? He just called himself.
I am Iron Man.
Yeah, I'm saying Tony Stark is Doctor Doom. Let me put it this way. Up to Phase 4, everything in the MCU was under control of He Who Remains and the TVA. They designed a single path for every universe, the Secret Timeline. According to what he says in Loki, by creating the Secret Timeline, he made sure there are no parallel Kang running around. Either they never get born or they get locked inside their own realities, so they can escape and start a multiversal war. And this is where Tony Stark, or should I say Dr. Doom, comes in. He Who Remains knows that the Doom is a massive threat. He knows if Doom exists as Doom, the multiverse burns. So he rewrites Doom's identity. He doesn't let Victor Von Doom ever step onto the board. Instead, he forges a new persona for him. Tony Stark, not a tyrant, not a dictator, but a hero, who uses his genius and innovation to save people instead of ruling them. At first glance, this theory sounds totally unhinged. But the more you think about it, the more the similarities between Tony and Doom start to pile up. Tony Stark has an army of Iron Men or Ultron drones at his command. Dr. Doom has Doombots. Tony is insanely rich, insanely smart, and insanely creative. Doom also insanely rich, insanely smart, and insanely creative. Tony wears a special suit of armor that turns him into the Iron Man. Also, Victor wears a special suit of armor that turns him into Dr. Doom. Both of them are egomaniacs. They genuinely believe everyone else is irrelevant. I'm the only one who really knows what's going on. And both of them, when they try to fix the world, completely wreck everything. Iron Man creates a global defense program, Ultron, and absolutely ruins everything. And Doom destroys the multiverse in Secret Wars and rebuilds it as Battleworld, where he plays God. So maybe Tony Stark's death in Endgame wasn't just a random sacrifice drama. Maybe his death was part of He Who Remains' grand plan to eliminate the Doctor Doom threat permanently. Remember, Doctor Strange said there was one Venom path out of 14 million possibilities. Why? Because He Who Remains literally doesn't allow any other outcome. He prunes them all. So when Tony dies, He Who Remains can finally relax. The Doom problem is gone. Crisis averted. But then, Doom finally gets his chance. He starts his real multiverse-destroying plan after He Who Remains is killed. When that happens, the Secret Timeline collapses, and the multiverse is finally free again. From that point on, no one is overwriting Doom's identity. No one's forcing him to live as Tony Stark. He can finally revert to who he truly is, Dr. Doom. That's why his face is still the same as Tony's. The Russos are technically telling the truth. Doom isn't a variant of Tony Stark. He's a variant of himself, just no longer under the control of He Who Remains. And now, with no one above him pulling the strings, he's free to do what he does best: burn everything down. Why the delay? Why now? The simple answer might be that there were still people out there who terrified them. People like Supreme Strange. People like Scarlet Witch. Yeah, Doom is powerful, but most of his power comes from politics, strategy, planning, and manipulating reality to his advantage. When it comes to pure strength, he simply can't compete with Wanda. Or maybe he waited long enough to cultivate his powers, or better put, stealing powers from people like Franklin Richards. Maybe it's part of his plan too, absorbing the magic from sorcerers so he can be the one and only who can control everything in the world literally. Do you remember another piece of concept art from Loki season 1 where we saw Tony Stark's helmet in He Who Remains room? I think it's another hint. Maybe they thought that would be too confusing for the audience to see Iron Man's helmet there, so they didn't put it in a final version, but it sparked an idea in their minds to implicitly foreshadow Tony Stark has always been Doom, and He Who Remains killed the variants to continue his plans. If you ask me the real likelihood of this Doom Stark theory actually happening, my brain says zero chance, but my heart is already write a fanfic. I want it so badly. But reasonably, look, this is Marvel. They're the studio that will spend half a decade perfecting the visuals and then totally drop the ball on the script. That means the actual odds for this vile theory are probably super low. There is a real fear they'll choose a safe, boring story over something this ambitious, but they cannot afford to mess this up. If they botch Doom, it's not just a blow to Marvel, it's a massive financial punch straight to the face of Disney. So what do you think? Is Tony Stark secretly Doom or not? Let me know in the comments. Smash that like button and subscribe to Sam Theory for more theories. Catch you in the next one.